Global Indian Network. Print, TV, events, podcasts. Find out more at globalindianseries.com.
Welcome to the Global Indian Podcast, home to the greatest conversations and the official platform for people of Indian origin. Yes, that's right. We're everywhere. My name is Adhiraj. I'm the proud chief explorer for today's podcast. So, let's kick it off. Imagine that we are not alone in the universe. Now, I know for many it's not difficult to do, especially when you look at the mathematics behind it, but let our imaginations go wild. Well, what impact would it have upon us if there were higher beings out there in space? How would it change our perception of our reality, of religion, of death, of being human? And more importantly, would it change the way that we live our lives? Well, in today's podcast, I traveled to India to meet with MUFON India, which is headed up by Adhiraj Roy. This is an extraordinary conversation that really does get quite murky at times, and I think it's something that you guys will thoroughly enjoy. As always, if you like the work that we do, well, become a supporter. Go to the website, which is www.globalindianseries.com. And a massive thank you and a shout out to all our dear supporters and sponsors, many of which you'll hear from soon. I really hope you enjoy this remarkable conversation.
Hi, my name is Divya and I'm co-founder of the Global Indian Podcast. Before you get to today's show, I've got a quick favour to ask. If you've been enjoying our conversations, I'd love if you could take just 1 minute to leave us a review on the platform that you're listening to us on and share our work to friends and family. It helps us out a lot. Word of mouth is the primary way that we grow. Thanks for your continued support.
Hi, my name is Nestor Alfred, CEO of St. Lucia Citizenship by Investment. Think freedom. What comes to mind? Freedom to explore, to travel to any destination for work or play. Or is it freedom of expression? Being surrounded by the globally minded, those who care for society and environment. Every year, people from around the world apply for St. Lucian citizenship because they realize that real freedom is based on choice. Discover more about St. Lucian citizenship and how it's helping global Indians achieve more.
Hello, my name is Daniel Trasa and I'm Dean of Nova School of Business and Economics in Carcavelos, Portugal, one of Europe's leading business schools. I'm proud to be of Indian origin, and I invite you to discover these podcasts, which will look to redefine the impact that Indians and their descendants are doing all over the world. In behalf of Nova School of Business and Economics, I wish you a great 2021.
My name is Chitra Stern, and I am a proud Global Indian Ambassador and CEO of Martinal Resorts and Martinal Residences. We pride ourselves on the journeys that define a community, and our developments bring people together. Did you know that over 70,000 people just like us call Portugal home? The Global Indian journey has brought people together in a meaningful way, and on behalf of all of us at Martinal, we want to thank you for joining us in these remarkable conversations. We look forward to seeing you here in Lisbon post-COVID. Have a great day.
And just move. Get up and just move. Get up and just move. Get up and just move.
Did you believe in aliens as a youngster growing up?
Yeah. Not really as a youngster, but generally after in my teen years or when I was growing up, I really got attracted to this aspect. And I was like, let's explore it a little bit because it's always fascinating because we have those movies, like all the guns blazing, new technology and Scotty beam me up and everything. But I found it really very unrealistic because, it was like a really crude way of doing things. If somebody is that good or that advanced or that powerful, they should not be really doing things in that manner, as for my opinion. I don't know much, but still.
So maybe where we should start is the moment that you had an experience that you couldn't necessarily explain. And I think that's probably the best place to kick this conversation off, because I suppose from there, that's what kind of led you down to this whole route of understanding more about whether we're alone or not.
Yeah. Means before that experience as well, I was like mathematically or scientifically speaking or logically speaking, I was pretty sure that we are not alone. That would be really, like a very, like crude way of thinking about things, that there are so many stars, so many billions of stars and planets and galaxies and everything, and we are the lone survivor, like the lone wolf. It is like billion kind of all probability. So as I studied maths and physics and biology, I was really like, it's certainly not possible that we are the only one. We might be one of the few, but after that, I was things were going kind of like just floating around. I was like, okay, I'll watch the few movies, and whenever I got opportunity, I watched a few documentaries which other people subjected. But when I was exposed to that event, personal experience, shivering out of my skin or something like that. But it was just like a very, it means unusual experience. I didn't know what to make of it.
Run me through the experience that you had.
Yeah. Means we were just out at a friend's place in one of the hill stations of India, Uttarakhand or Uttaranchal. Other people might not know it, but it is a hill station. And it is very sparsely populated in some areas, maybe in most of the areas, because it's a hill station and not many people live around there. You can go to entire expanses of acres and acres of land, and there will be nothing out there, just a few trees and some animals, and no deadly animals as well. Like on the outskirts of the city at a friend's place. And we were just having a discussion like teenagers do. We were having fun. We were out on a holiday, and we had nothing of the sort in the mind. We were just discussing things and anything. We were having fun and all. But suddenly it was like it was night, and so it was a kind of low light, in spite of the lighting we had indoors. But street lights and all were not there. So suddenly there was a bright glow, but you could figure out that the source of the light was fairly far away. It was not like it was right next to you, but there was a glow, ambient lighting. And then for a few seconds we did not notice it at all, and few of us noticed, and nobody said anything because we were discussing our own things. We were busy in that. We were just thinking that it might be some vehicle down the street or something. But suddenly, after a few seconds, somebody just said that I think a vehicle is coming down the street or something. So we started looking out, and headlights. It's not even like a headlight. It's just like some sort of glow. And then we finally, within a few seconds, the source of light zoomed about from in front of the place we were living, and just went a few meters ahead or some distance away, and then zoomed back up. It was gone.
And how old were you guys when this happened?
I'm guessing maybe 20, 21, 22, something
Okay,
like
because
that.
you were studying at university, weren't you? It's
Yeah. We were doing our engineering course. I was in mechanical engineering. Few of my friends were in IT. We were in computer science, civil engineering, every sort of engineer we had there. So it was not like we had shortage of expertise or knowledge. Means whatever we could have achieved
so
at that point of.
with this group of engineers that you're all there, and you all
Yeah.
obviously witnessed and experienced the same event. What did you make out of it? What was the verdict that you guys thought?
I like to be very honest. Like there were 5, 6 people, and I think 2 to 3 or 50% of them, and nobody paid any like happen in life. It's happened. It's away. Who cares about it? I have to get a job tomorrow. I have to get a clear exam tomorrow. I have a next semester exam. Everything was going on. But that thing stayed with me for a little while, and it I got busy in life, and I didn't think about it much. But after some time, we means not we, but we were 3, 4, 5 flatmates. We used to live in the same flat, and after some time, we were just like suddenly growing into that direction, because as you know, the YouTube or the algorithms, if you watch a certain kind of videos, you'll get more of
Yeah.
them. Yeah, so finally I started to watch the same kind of information from different sources. Like one source quotes some information, then they'll give you some more information. It was kind of like fixing a jigsaw puzzle. So it was kind of like a very adventure. Sometimes I'll watch with a few friends. Sometimes most of the times I'll be watching alone, because I was a night owl and most of my friends would sleep early or something like that. So I'll be watching that. I'll be thinking about things from different angles. Okay, what is this? Do I have any possible explanation for that from whatever the information I have learned? And yeah, as you know that in engineering or any kind of technical education which you are getting, if not the cutting edge, you are getting more like the relevant or kind of like latest information about technology, because you have to work on it, you have to develop on it. If it's already been developed, and then you can't do much about it. So like I was learning about IC engines, air conditioning, and all sorts of aerospace applications and all material science and everything. So when I started coming across things which not necessarily because they're not much in the Eastern media, but in the Western media from the side of Britain and onwards, going to the other side of the pond and US and everything, they had a lot of information, or at least instances where information that it is something unusual, at least, if
Yeah.
not UFO or from other world, but it's something unusual. So I was always thinking that we have so many great scientists, and everybody is means if you are a scientist or a physicist or an astrophysicist or anything like that, you will be asked questions about extraterrestrials at least 100 times in your life minimum or in your career. So I thought, why aren't these people answering this question? But then I saw few of interviews of Neil deGrasse Tyson or Michio Kaku or Stephen Hawking himself and Neil Armstrong and everybody, and they were quite open to this. There, it is a possibility. We should not, like dismiss it at once. We just don't have the evidence
Yeah.
of it as of now.
Or we
So
don't
I
or we don't know how to look at what we currently have in a different way to
exactly,
actually say that this is an existence as there. What do you think it is about the whole notion of aliens that make people either one, totally dismiss the subject, or two, almost become fearful? Because I can imagine if we were in the world in which we live now, where identity politics or even religious
yeah,
identities, the notion of having another being that is above and greater than that of a human being, but is not a godlike structure or is a godlike structure, could actually be quite terrifying because it blows away a lot of religious beliefs.
yeah. Means I actually, the point you have raised, I have had it in my back of my mind percolating, but it is really like all of the gods we have in whichever religion, whatever you do, means apart from my religion where it says that you will be judged on the way you have acted in your lifetime. But in most of the other religions, when they're trying to get you into the fold, they'll tell that if you start believing in this God, all your sins will be forgiven. But that's what I thought. What kind of God will be like that? That if I just pray to him or if I'm just good to him, he will forgive all my sins. That does not make sense to me, right? If I am in India or I'm in London or in America or anywhere, I have done something wrong and I have good rapport with the judge or the president or the prime minister or anything, I should not be judged differently. I am a citizen. I should be judged equally. So that is my idea of thinking about God, that he will judge me equally, whatever be the reason, because he's all knowing, all powerful. He knows
Oh,
why I did
interesting.
a certain thing.
Yeah. So then
So
how does that fit into the notion of aliens then for you?
yeah, exactly. Because it means around me, a lot of people attributed certain qualities to the god or the god which they worshipped, which were majorly human like, and they were kind of like had flaws. If God is an all powerful being and he's all perfect, he should not have flaws. He should not be judging me because I worship to him. He should be judging me because of the things that I have done to his creations, with his creations, and around in the society, right?
So you're saying almost our notion in your mind of God is based upon the human relationships, almost like politics.
Yeah,
People,
exactly,
if you're a member
exactly.
of royalty, you're almost worshipped. If you're a head of a state, then you're worshipped in equal measure, or you like to be worshipped in equal measure. And you're saying, well, that's a very humanoid experience. So
Yeah,
in your mind, you're saying that therefore our notions of God may actually be another notion of an alien life force. Is that what it is?
it's kind of like that because means in the majority of the population whom I have been in touch with, be it any religion, we have a very rudimentary sense of the God. Like, what is God? Okay, if I worship to him 5 times a day, 6 times a day, 10 times a day, if I do this ritual, I do that, he'll bless me. He'll give me something. But my way of thinking is a little bit different, Because if I am a good human being, if I'm deserving of a certain thing or certain characteristic or something, the God should give me without asking me. He gave me life without asking. I didn't go and ask for and give me birth on the planet Earth in this year, so and so date, so that I can go along and do this. He chose this path for me. He chose this time era for me, and he chose everything for me as it is. But after I got born, then it is in my hands.
So
If I, yeah.
I was going to say, so do you think, what does it mean to be a human for you? Do you think this is all an experiment, or do you think how does it fit into your paradigm of thinking? Obviously, you got a very universal thought system. And I know last week's podcast that we did, we spoke about a man who survived a 30-day coma, because during
Yeah,
that process, he felt that he was connected to the whole entire universe, that there was, and I think in there, he said something that was actually quite interesting for this subject, because he said, actually, I've realized now with global warming and all these issues that our planet Earth is just one tiny speck in the entire universe. Now, whether or not he believes in aliens is another thing, but his pure human experience during that time of being in a coma led him to a very similar thought process to yours. So when you look at being a human being, do you believe that we're an experiment? Are we the 7-day experiment that came out of a test tube? Or are we in some people believe it, that this planet Earth is a harvesting center for human life forms, for something. So there's so many weird, wonderful, and it could be interesting thoughts on what this planet serves as. What's yours? What is the role of human beings then?
First of all, I would like to honestly say that I cannot comment on what is the role. But I like to say that whatever we are deciding or taking upon us, means whatever we are saying that, okay, this might be the situation we are in. You have to give a logical explanation for that, right? If I say that today that stars are all LED lights, situated some 50 light years a day, at a distance of 50 light years, and they're just giving us light, I will not get any soup for that matter, because I'm just saying it. I don't have any evidence, theory, or explanation following that, right? I have to explain why I am saying such and such a thing and why it might be correct. The scientists tell us that the stars and sun and the moon are all stars, and this is the age of the star, this is the distance of the star, because they have a hypothesis around it, and then they prove it with their readings and their equipment and everything. So if we are just thinking about a civilization or aliens or whatever, that they are far ahead of us, and that has to be the case, because if you're alien, the nearest planet is what, I think 8 light years ago in Alpha Centauri. So if you can travel a distance of 8 light years and you're still alive, you have got to be doing something special, which we are not aware of. And if I am not aware of and I cannot detect it, then for me, it's as good as a god, right? Because I cannot detect it, and I will just see some effects of it upon myself, just like gravity. So in many religions, you will see we worship earth, we worship the sun, the moon, and the river and everything, because we are not aware of how those things functions. But we know that these kind of things are essential, or very
To our life,
for our life. Yeah. So we kind of like worship it. We are kind of dedicated towards it. We understand that this is something which is far greater than us. But to assume that the things which are on this planet, on this geoid, are only the things which are far greater than us, it's a very arrogant way of thinking, and I don't really like it, because there are so many bigger and better things, and in a different like conditions. Some are close to the stars, some are far from the stars,
so the
some are in
variables
the
change.
dark matter. So I don't know what kind of, even if we will be able to identify an alien life form as a life form, is also a big question for us.
How has it impacted your view of identity? Because on one notion, everybody is absorbed by the identity of nationalism. Look at the cricket, for example. You had you had India v Pakistan. That kind of had everybody, billions of people looking. But your view of identity goes far beyond national borders, because you're talking about a planetary border of Earth. So how do you view yourself? Do you now view yourself as, I am now a proud Indian citizen, and that is the be all and end all of my identity? Or do you see yourself almost as, I am a human, I am a species on the planet Earth? Or do you view yourself as a quadrant of the universe in which we belong to? Like, how does it shape your thinking?
This is a very difficult situation, because if you do not have the ability to project yourself as an international citizen, or an inter in first of all, you have to project your ability as being an inter house citizen. Like, if I am living in my house with my family, and if my neighbor has a certain problem, I should be able to help him. I should be able to sympathize and empathize with him and help him out. Then I'll be an inter neighborhood citizen. If I am able to sympathize and help fellow citymen or statemen, then I'll be that level of citizen. If I'm able to sympathize with my countrymen, because whatever segregation or kind of organizations we have established in form of a household, a village, a city, or a state, or a country, it is based because we have some things in common.
Yeah.
Then, and that is all because we have an external threat, will be a very serious way of saying it, but we have an external element which is not very similar to us. It is different. It might not be detrimental to our cause, but it is different. Like a deer and a tiger, they're not enemies, but a tiger has to eat the deer to survive. The deer has to graze the grass in order to survive. So they're not enemies. They're connected, but they're different. So that I practical things have to be put in a different aspect. But yes, whenever there is something external which is affecting you, like if I'm Indian living in London, any Indian from any part of India, be it somewhere which I don't speak the language of, or whatever be it, I'll still feel very close to him, that okay, he's my fellow countryman. He shares some values, some cultural or some affinity which I also share, and then
A shared familiarity that allows you to think or feel validated that you have this relationship or perception of relationship, because it's somebody
exactly.
that hopefully thinks, sees the world the same way that you do. So
Yeah,
then,
exactly. That is the only thing I think that keeps us from being cannibalistic in nature. I mean, majority of the population, there is still some people who do,
yes, I was
but
going to
that is
say,
the
yeah.
only reason.
So then, when you tell people that you are, because you're not an alien hunter as such, but you do
Yeah,
hunt for the truth behind it. So I think that would be a fair
yeah.
way to put it. But when you tell people, in want for a better word, that you are an alien hunter and you are qualified as a as an engineer, and you have done the physics side of things, what's the natural perception people have towards you?
First of all, I like to tell you, after hearing the first part of the sentence, nobody cares about the second part. So it's like that. Like normally speaking, when you say you are all good and a but, the part
Yeah,
after the but is the most important part. But here, the part before the but is the most important
yeah,
part. Like I have a certain way of viewing things. It will
yeah,
give a certain impression about me to people.
yeah.
If I talk about aliens, 99% of people in India will not take me seriously, because they think that there are much more serious things or aspects in life which we have to be a part of, which we have to be thinking about. They don't have the time to think about something which is out of the planet.
I was gonna say, because ultimately they're the deer in your analogy. They're not against the tiger, but they know that they could be eaten at any moment.
Securing their meal for the day.
Yeah,
But once when yeah, because there's so arranging things for the next meal. In India, there's a lot of poverty, though we have worked hard on that, but still, we have not reached the level of economic satisfaction in the society that we aspire to have, and that is a very it's a time consuming process, because it's like a very large country, so they are not much worried about it or bothered by it. But yeah, they'll share with you their observations, whatever they have seen.
well, I was gonna say there was, in India, if you look back at some of the historical writings, I think you had the rock paintings that are over 10,000 years old
Oh,
in
yeah.
India, and they depict this alien life force well before the likes of ET, evidently, and Independence Day, and is of these type of oblong type creatures out there. And then I know when we spoke earlier on, you said, Rajan, there's a passage within the Mahabharata, or one of the books that were there, the Gita, where Lord Krishna opens up his mouth and there's round circular planets there.
Yeah.
And you're saying, well, this book is over 25,000 years old. And the fact then, only up until a couple of hundred years ago, we thought the world
Yeah.
was flat. And so you
Yeah.
hear they're talking about everything that is circular, cylinder shapes in a universal sphere. Like, how do you actually describe that? How do you process that type of information?
That's what means it always boggles my mind that how come if you had information like this, means I told you that it was 25,000 years ago, and that's what the information is about, the written copy,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
So that's not
before
even the
that,
oral fashion. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
and India was an oral culture, like for generations and generations and millennia they had been transmitting this information orally. And certain experts say, which I have been in contact with, knowledge experts, they say that 19 or 80% of the knowledge we have lost because we didn't write it down. And when we started writing it down, we had a horde of invasions like 1,000 or 1,500 years ago, and most of the records were burned. And
Yeah.
then we had the British, and who came and said that if you don't have written records, we don't have proof of it, so you can't rely on it, so it's not true. So we had a double whammy. So it's kind of like that. And in the present situation also, because the stories are so extravagant and so outlandish, that we human beings, when we believe in it, we are not able to come up with the logic to explain that.
Yeah.
That why it might be true, why it might be. And to search that logic, like some of us, some of like me, some people like me, when we are searching for that logic, we inadvertently, like wander into the UFO section of the society. Because what else can you come up with? I am not spiritually that enhanced or that educated that I could, give a definition of God, or you can talk about God. But I am, not an atheist, so I have some idea.
So then
I
when
can,
you look at your religion, you're Hindu, and you look at your religion and you read some of the texts, and even in other religions, say for example, the co-religionists that are Christians, you got early paintings
yeah,
of Jesus Christ there, and you've got people in type of ships and they haven't got halos around them, so they're not seen as angelic species, but
yeah,
they're flying something like, when you look at all this evidence and you think we still live in a world where aliens are subjected to television series or movies and almost on the far rights of society, but yet it's in your own religion that you practice.
yeah. It's
How
in every religion.
yeah,
It's like permeated our whole plethora of things that we surround ourselves and live with. Because whatever we see around us today, 50 years ago, 100 years ago, it was all alien to us. We didn't have running electricity, we didn't have running water, we didn't have internal combustion. So all this is alien technology for a person who's 200 years behind our time. So he doesn't know all about this. If we go ahead and show him a plane that is flying, he's going to come up and say to us that there was a bird which had metal wings and it was flying. If he has some idea of metal, that is.
yeah, yeah,
So, and in our religious texts or all ancient texts, instead of visual depictions, we have like written depictions.
yeah,
Somebody saw something and he wrote something about it. So if you are taking it on literal value or face value, I think we are doing a great injustice to that system, because he is depicting something which he has seen and might not have a vocabulary for it. He has just seen it and he's trying to explain it in his own way. Right. If I see a rocket flying now, because I have been trained as an engineer and I have some information about it, I can tell, okay, that is an internal combustion engine and that has liquid propellant and there is the oxidizer and everything is going up. And so that's why the fire is coming. But in ancient cultures, they used to say, we saw a dragon flying in the sky. What do you think they meant by that? A dragon is, by definition, a fire breathing creature, somebody who's breathing fire. So if they saw a creature like that, I'm all open to that explanation and the evidence. But sometimes I feel that metal wings and breathing fire, that gives me the impression of a jet engine or a rocket or a jet fighter, something like that. Because I have been brought up in this stage of technical or technological advancement. I have seen those things, so I can say that okay, if you're telling about a bird which is of made of metal and flying with fire, it most probably will be a jet engine. You just don't know about it.
how do you think, in your worldview, that the world and even the people that you know, how would their beliefs change if evidence was provided of another species?
Honestly, I'll tell you that most of them will just dismiss the fact. They'll be like, it doesn't affect me. How does it affect me? Even if there are aliens some very far distance away, or even if they're, how are they affecting me? How are they affecting my family?
How do
So,
you how do you think it will change? Let's say, for example, in India right now, where everybody has their cliques, and all of a sudden now there's an alien that is far greater than any type of religious consciousness that we've ever had. Do you still think that
oh,
people think, no, it's fine, great alien, let me sell him something, or great alien, let's get some trade done, or great alien doesn't make any difference to me unless you're not helping me out personally, I'm not really bothered. Like,
first of all, the main effect will be that our current politicians who are in power will stay that way for a long time, because they will be like, going this to the hilt of the sword, that yeah, we have an external threat, so you need me here and I'll be the best one for you and I have the control of things. So first thing will be that. But second of all, after seriously as a civilization, not even as a civilization, because we have many civilizations on this planet itself, some have
yeah,
died out, some are continuing, and but as a species, that will be if we can evidentially prove that we have an alien species, which is maybe, even if we are not sure, if it may be detrimental to the interest of the human species on the whole, then it will be perhaps the best thing for the planet, perhaps the best thing.
because it brings everybody together then.
Yeah. Then we have a common enemy. The theory of the common enemy is like the greatest sold out
Yeah.
conspiracy, or theory, whatever
But
is out there.
what does it say about us as human beings, the fact that we all have to almost have that common enemy? An enemy of an enemy is my friend type of thing. And the other side is saying, so then what do you think it tells us more about the human behavior? And is that within our genetics? Is that within our DNA? That we
Yeah,
fear
yeah,
something
yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's not like us. And so
Yeah,
therefore,
that is completely because uh, if you see a human evolution from strictly a scientific experimental kind of thing, which does not have had any external influence, like we created the fire, the wheel, and all this technology all on our own, and nobody and nothing helped us at all. From the micro single cellular organization, we have reached this point of evolution on the human scale. If we take it, if we own it, we take the ownership of it. Yeah, like we as a species did this. We wanted to live on land, so we developed as fish who could live on land, and then we grew up feet, and then we became mammals and everything. If you connect with that, that is super fantastic, and we can push it to great limit, and we can achieve great things for us there. But due to our religious education and upbringing, we are always brought up with the thing that there is something or somebody who's greater than us, on whom you can which you haven't been able to do, which you have failed at, you can put that on the god, that it was his will. It was his will and his way of thinking, so this is what I am.
so you're saying that we grew up almost having and in a perverse way, some people use religion as a scapegoat to say, well, I couldn't
Yeah,
do
yeah,
this because somebody else out there programmed me not to be able to do that.
yeah. That is definitely. And even if in the religious sense, we check these things out, in all religions, there are got to be some drawbacks, because ultimately your religion was brought to you by a human. You didn't get it directly from your God, right? Somebody told you that this is the way that things were, or this is how the way that the God or itself told me about these things. This is how it should be done. So you don't have that information firsthand. That is a second hand or third, in many cases it's million hand information, so to say. But yeah, but that is the information that you have got, and you cannot blindly trust on it, though in some aspects you have to. Even if you go to a doctor or a lawyer or a mechanic, you have a blind faith on them. If he says
Yeah,
something is wrong with your car or your liver or your taxes and finances, you trust them that okay,
yeah.
because he's educated in that, I'll take his word on face value and I'll go ahead with it. So sometimes I feel that why don't we do it with our religious leaders? Why do we have to ask them evidence? I don't go and ask some mechanic, okay, show me this part which has worn out and you want to change it out. I don't ask him. If a doctor says to me tomorrow that you need to get your appendix removed, I don't go and say, okay, show me the picture where you have seen that I have inflammation and all that. We trust them. So why not have trust on your religious leaders? And then I was thinking, then I thought that this I can't call it a profession, this way of living has been tarnished so much over and over the millennia that it has become almost like you cannot trust on it. You do not have a trust
I
value
think that's it.
associated with
It's our reliance on the integrity of those people have now diminished, because now you're saying, okay, for the analogy that you use with somebody in the medical world, you have an
it.
appendix issue, you need to get it removed. I think now vast majority of people out there will be saying, okay, I want to see the image. Tell me what's gone wrong.
Yeah,
Because we hear of some real crazy horror stories out there. But what you're saying is that the same thing then in the past, when people used to say there are other life forms out there, we never trusted them, yet we'll trust when they say other things are almost arbitrary to our existence.
yeah.
So why do we have, so your question is, why do we have selective morality of what we choose to believe in? Is it because
I
it,
have a partial answer for that as well.
go for
I
it?
figured it out like a little bit. Because, when case of doctors or mechanics or lawyers, if they say something, right?
Yeah.
But if a religious person comes and tell you that if you follow these and these set of commandments or this set of rituals, and then you will go to heaven. You do not have any way of proving that, because to go to heaven, first condition is that you have to die. And
Yeah.
after that, you are not able to communicate in the real world, at least to with anybody else, right?
That's really
That you are able to
interesting,
communicate.
because you look at the whole human identity for you.
Yeah.
Say, well, if we are going to say we're humans, which we are, and then if
Mm,
you are going to turn around and say, well, I am religiously
mm,
exposed in terms of the way that I look at the world, you're saying, well, that's fine. So therefore, if you are going to go down those lines of thought based upon little or evidence that provides you to have a trust or faith in somebody else, well, then why can't you then provide the same level of trust and lack of
yeah.
scrutiny to that of saying that we can't be alone in the world? What is it about the two things coexisting that scares most people? And what's really interesting, Adi, is the fact that you've allowed both things to exist, to say, I believe that there are aliens out there. I don't know the extent of the beliefs, whether it is the fact that we have got little blue men that walk on the earth, or maybe some of the Irish tales where you had the green twins, or I think some of the English tales where you had the
Yeah.
green twins that came from the middle of the earth.
That
Or
was a fascinating story, man.
yeah, or if it's going to be the case of saying, well, it's microbes that are living on Mars. Each one is still got a living entity, but if we're prepared to believe in the smaller aspects that have such a profound impact on the way that we choose to live, and therefore change and challenge the way our perceptions of death are the same manner, why don't we just expand our horizons? That is actually really fascinating. There's one part left to this that we haven't spoken about, because you have a level of frustration as MUFON, and you're saying, well, every country out there provides finance and support and research abilities to have a look at extraterrestrial life. But India, despite sending a rocket into space, has not invested any money into this.
Oh, not just one rocket. We have sent out multiple rockets. Means the development in our space technology has been so ridiculous and so. It's kind of like movie. Like you literally see things happen in the movie, and that was the space or a story of a space agency. They literally took their first rocket on the launch pad via the help of a bicycle and a bullock cart. So that's from where we started. It is literally, I have got photos, means you can Google it and anyone can get it. They're taking the rocket, a small rocket on a bicycle, and then the larger part on the bullock cart. And from there we started. There was a very famous cartoon in the New York Times, I think, and in which they had shown that India was like a very agrarian culture. So
Yeah.
everybody was in the space club, and India was outside with a cow or a bull. I don't
Yeah.
exactly remember the image, but it was kind of like that. And I was like, okay, fine. You're the right to make fun of us right now because we are not at the level that you are, but soon we'll be there. It's not a big thing. It takes time and it take your resources and energy as a nation
Yeah.
But if we had a alien civilization who was like detrimental to us, would the Americans or the British or the
But
Russians be
then,
keeping space
but it's
technology from
interesting
us?
that you say that, because if it is our combined enemy
Yeah.
of something that's external, if we have to have a good and bad type of thing in the world, then surely we would have come together many years ago over climate change. That's an existential threat for the whole planet, let alone human
We did.
beings.
As a matter of fact, we did in the World War One and Two. If
Mm,
you remember, India was a colony of the British. But I think 2.5 million soldiers from the Indian
yeah,
subcontinent went
died.
to fight with their slavers in essentially. We
Yeah,
went to fight
absolutely.
because that was a larger enemy, the Nazi Germany. We did, and a lot of countries in the world came together, and we came out as like seriously that this is not right. We are not going to stand by it. We're not going to stand with it, and we are going to fight against it. So everyone put aside their differences, and we fought. We had some famines in India because of that. Nobody
Yeah,
knows
you
about that.
did. You had the Bengal famines. Over 1 million
Yeah,
people died within the
and so
space
many
of
people
months.
died.
Yeah.
And you can say that if we were not considering ourselves as a citizen of the planet, there was no interest for the Indians to do it.
Well,
There was no
no,
interest.
that is a really I think that is a story in itself for another podcast. Absolutely, the way in which we look at history. And
Yeah, yeah.
what would you like to leave our audience with, and how can they find out more about the work that you guys do? Because I know obviously there was a famous documentary that was made recently, Ancient Aliens in India, and I know that
Oh,
you guys were inundated with requests, as well as people were saying, well, what on earth is this about?
surprised with the response of the which the Ancient Alien series got. I had watched it much before that came in the media in India and was translated into various regional languages and Indian languages. But I had watched it much before. I had watched it online, and I was really fascinated with some of the things which I saw. Not everything. For many of the things, I could figure out the human explanation for things. But in few things, I was really like. Yeah, that this guy has got a point. Why don't we give it a thought from this angle of things? And we should be able to figure out much more about it.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like that. And when I saw that, I read the book actually, the PDF from Eric von Daniken and Chariot of the Gods.
Yeah.
And I was like that this guy is making some good points. And I read more about him and I found out that even being in a Judean culture or religion, even he did not lose his religion over this point of thing. So I thought that I live in a much more versatile culture where gods fly and everything happens. So why can't we include this part in that? Why can't it be
Interesting.
possible? Because
Interesting.
aliens might be something who profess their religion over to us, right? If I
Yeah.
go to an island where there are few peoples and few people who don't have any sense of religion, and I have the opportunity to educate them spiritually or religiously, I'll be professing them my religion, right?
Yeah.
And if I am a very selfish kind of person, I'll be projecting myself as the god. That okay, I am the god. You see, I have this power. I can create fire. I can kill anyone with a click of my finger if I have a gun, or many other kind of technologies which I can show.
Which is what we did do. That's the thing. If you
Yeah,
look back at human civilization, we did do that. When we went to different countries in our own
yeah.
planet, we did that. So it's not too difficult to believe that if it can happen within our own planet, it can't happen within our own universe.
Actually, I heard of a very famous story, a documentary in which then during the Second World War itself, the American forces went out to an uninhabited island, which they thought it was, but there were few people on that. So they had landed their planes and everything. They had created a runway and everything. And after the World War left, they left. But during that point of time, they had given some goods like beef or canned food or any such or third things to the locals. So after the Americans left, nobody paid any heed to that island. Nobody cared about it because it was just like a tactical kind of occupation that will be here because the Japanese might come here. After a few years, somebody went to that island and they saw that the locals had created a runway and made a plane kind of out like a bamboo. And there were things that resembled the technologies which we had carried over there. And they were waiting for us, the gods, to come back and give them again a canned food and preserve food. So I thought, wow, this is just like a light bulb. If we can do this, and at that level of technology where we didn't have a video calling facility or anything as that such, and we could impact those people so much without even like kind of working on it. The troops who were there, they were just working on their defenses. They were not about to preach civilization or religious to those people, but those people still considered them gods because of the technological difference that they had. So why can't it be the case for the entire planet? After all, we started our human civilization with small settlements, small get-togethers of people or nomadic herds or whatever. Why can't that happen?
So do you believe in the whole likes of the city of Atlantis, or is this something within your paradigm of belief?
For the city of Atlantis, I don't know if I can consider it something as alien, because first of all, the city of Atlantis was present on the planet Earth, and it contained people who were from this planet essentially, who may have been spiritually, technologically, or whatever way
More so
advanced from.
advanced, yeah.
Yeah, but they were from this planet itself. They were not from somewhere else.
So for yours,
But
it's not about the technology, it's about the species.
yeah, it's about your roots. Where are you from? Like even animals, all the other animals, chimps and all, they are all belonging from the earth. It's not that just because they're from different species, they don't belong to earth. So aliens can also be belonging from earth. Who knows? Millions of years ago, when the planet was really hot, there was some other form of life form who survived during that time, developed technologies, and they migrated to a better place as the earth changed its form. It cooled down, and the environmental conditions change. So maybe they went to someplace else. Like we as human form, this Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos and all the space agencies are trying to go to a different planet because we are, more or less kind of rearing our own. We are not able to breathe in
What,
this
what,
air
what do you
anymore.
think? What do you think happens when you die?
Whoa. That is like a very, very, very top-notch question, but I don't really have an answer for that.
Like
But
because I suppose is anything really alien then? Because if it's the again the cell on our hand is the same as the cell on our foot, it's still part of the same system. So maybe when we have this notion that there's a hell or heaven, or if there's worlds and worlds above and worlds below, that actually what we're talking about realistically is the universal sphere of humanoids. The fact that there may be planets that you live on that you do have a hellish experience because the terrains on those planets are so difficult to survive in. And maybe on the
yeah.
other ones, it could be a heavenly abode because the terrains are almost like Earth, where you do have water. And, so for you, in your mind, from your experience of looking at aliens, having a look at religion, what is the next escape? Are you going to be beam me up Scotty, or will you be almost like separated amongst the stars?
Oh, that's what I am trying to say, that whatever perceptions we have, these are all mere perceptions, because what we have seen or whatever we have been told, or what you learned, you don't have a first-hand experience, right? But as for physics, so we know two things: that you cannot destroy energy; it changes
Yeah.
forms. So I'm a form of energy, so you can't destroy me. I'll change form into something else. And second thing is that the chaos in this universe is going to increase every day with every second, what we call entropy. It's not exactly chaos, but it is entropy. So I'll be part of that entropy for sure. I am not going anywhere, and maybe I'll be in some different form, because as I was born, I was a small child. I did not have this role in this society or in this world per se. 10, 15, 20 years ago, even yesterday, I did not have this role of talking to you over this podcast and giving my views. I had something else. I had
Yeah.
some what different role in society. I was doing something for my home or my family. So I think that life and death is kind of like that. It's just a change of day. It's a change of form. It's change of energy, maybe. But if I am to go out like a candle in the dark of the night, that okay, after that there's nothing. This is just vacuum. There is space. I'm happy with that as well, because that's also part of the universe. It is very necessary for the survival of other things. If there is no space, no vacuum, no atmosphere, probably things won't be the way they are right now. So even after dying or in life, I'll be part of the world and I'll be contributing to it.
Fair enough.
So I know for sure that I'll be contributing in death. The most important point is that I should be contributing in life as well.
Absolutely. And we shouldn't be destroying more in our own pursuit of death than in anything else.
Yeah,
It has
definitely.
been an absolute pleasure having you on. Thank you so much for your time.
Oh, it was a great pleasure to be here. Great experience. I hope we can do this in future about different topics.
What a extraordinary conversation. I'm sure for many it wasn't actually what you thought it would be about. A lot of questions here, in my opinion, actually pose something far deeper. And it is about the human element. What is it about our identity that could be incredibly challenged if what we believe to be true about the human form turns out to be false? Rather than taking you down a trip of sorts, I think I'll end the podcast there, but you can join me back next week for the continuation of our 50 Shades of Brown conversations as we continue the journey for the global Indian. Until then, I hope all remains well and safe. And if you like what we do, you know what I'm going to ask. Join the movement. Share this podcast. Help us grow. Because with your help, we get to build the world's largest living encyclopedia of people just like us.